In this video, we're going to take a look at adding menu control items into your projects. So here we have our Hello World program again. By the way, I've minimized our Solution Explorer window so that we could see the property windows a little bit higher. So you want to manage these windows the best you can in whatever way works best for your workflow. But in our Hello World project right here, we just got a label in here. I've changed the auto size property back to true. I'd like to go in here and just change the font here a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, so we'll do that. Of course, I could go in and change the color to a different font and all that stuff, but that's easy stuff for you to do in that properties window, so I won't bore you by showing you that. But typically in a program, what we also want is some other controls on the form or window that allow us to interact with the program. So one real common type of control is the menu strip item. Okay, so over here in my toolbox, I'm just going to scroll down and pick menu strip, put that in. Now you'll notice that a menu strip came in along the top here, and it also showed up down here. Now the reason for that is some control items are invisible. Basically you don't see them, they're on the form, and the user can interact and do things that make them trigger, but if they're invisible on the form, they'll show up down here at the bottom of the window. Now, menu strip, some parts of it will be visible some of the time, some parts of it will be invisible some of the time, so it's going to show up down here to let you know that it's there. Now, menu strips are a little bit different. When I name my menu strip here, one thing I have to do is name the whole menu strip and then also name parts of that menu strip. So I'm going to click in here, and the whole menu strip, our three-letter prefix is MNU, and then for the whole menu strip that relates to this form or program, if there's only one form in your program, you'll name it the same as the program, so Hello World. If there were multiple forms, you would name the menu strip the same as you would for any particular form. Okay, so I have named this whole menu strip MNU Hello World. Now, typically in the menu strip, we have different parts to it up here. So a common one would be File. Now you'll notice when I type that in, it names that part of the menu strip File Tool Strip Menu Item. That's not a very good name, so I'm going to click in here, take this out, and here again we would name this MNU File. Now, you might say, why do I need to bother with all this naming? Good programmers, there's two reasons. Number one, it's going to help you a lot when we start working with the IntelliSense drop-downs. It's going to organize all your objects that you have and make it much more quick and easy for you to select the objects you have. Number two, good programmers write their code not only for the computer to run efficiently, but also for other programmers who might need to edit their code. It's very rare occasion that a programmer writes a complete program from beginning to end, and more often than not, there'll be teams of programmers working on a project together, so it's important to have some standard things, standard ways you do things, so that everybody can just jump in and work on that project the way they need to, and naming things is a part of that. So under File here, I want to have a submenu that says Exit. Okay, and once again, it names it Exit Tool Strip Menu Item, so I want to select that, and we're going to name it MNU Exit. Okay, so now I've got the whole menu strip, and I've got a couple of menu items on that menu strip. I had to name all of those things. Now notice, here's where the invisible part of this comes in too. Exit isn't visible till the user clicks on File, then the submenu shows up. And you don't have to do anything to make that happen. Here, let me debug the program here a little bit. And so I can see File there. When I click File, the submenu Exit shows up. Now when I click Exit, nothing happens because I haven't told it to do anything yet. And we'll learn to write that code. Okay. Now one thing we should do after we've done some work here is we're going to do a File, Save All. and what's going to pop up here is my save project window. Okay, and depending on what your situation is, you'll want to be organized and have a place that you're going to save your projects. One thing you want checked here is the create directory for solutions, so that a folder is created for this whole project. Okay, now I don't know if you're going to be saving things to your desktop to work with them. It's likely not, because you're probably working on in a lab at your school or something like that. So there'll be a place you have to save it. Maybe you'll need to get your own little flash drive that you save things to. Okay, so you can hit that browse button and navigate to where you're going to save it to. For though there is a group of you that received laptops that are part of a pilot project to save stuff to. One thing you'll have to note here is if you're going to save your projects on those laptops, you'll have to click on computer, and then you'll see another thing that I don't have on this computer. It'll say thaw space, and what the thaw space is a place you can save to that does not get wiped out by that deep freeze program. You remember you have a program on there that every time your laptop is restarted, it wipes out everything that was on that computer. So it will wipe out the projects you've created too if you don't save it to the thaw space. Okay, so be sure you do that. For most of the rest of you at your different schools, I don't know what your situation is, you'll just have to have a place that you're saving all these to. I am going to save it to the desktop, because for many of you that might be something that you commonly do, so that you can maybe save it to a flash drive or wherever else. So we've saved this project. Now what we're going to do, it doesn't do anything yet, so I'm going to close my toolbox here, or minimize the toolbox, so I've got a little more screen real estate. In my Solution Explorer window, I'm going to go to the code window here, and you'll remember we said we should have comments in here, and it should have my name and my program name in here as comments. The green part is ignored by the program. Now you'll notice here I have two tabs up here now, one that takes me to the design window and one for the code window. One thing you can do to create an event that will trigger some code to happen here is on my menu, if I open this, I could double click on exit, and what happened there when I double clicked on exit, an event procedure was automatically put into my code for me that is the default event procedure for a menu item. So the default event handler for a menu item is a click event. So by double clicking on it in the design window, I triggered the program to create an event handler for that. Okay? Now, we'll note what it does when you double click on something in this design window, it creates the default event for that object. So if I double click on my form here, notice it took me to the code window again, and it made a load event for my form. Okay, so what happens most often to new programmers in this environment is they accidentally create these event handlers because they double clicked on something on their form. You want to be careful of that, because that's the way to get code in your program that you didn't intend to be there, and that's how you get some bugs and problems in your program. So I'm just going to delete out this event handler for the form. I didn't want that in there. But I do want this one for MNU exit. I'm going to get rid of this one too, because I want to show you another way to put events in your code. Typically, if you're on the design window and you know you want the default event for an object, double clicking on it works well, but that's not how you're going to put in most of your event handlers. What you'll usually do that most of the time from the code window here. If you click the drop down window right here on the left, you will have all the objects that are available on your form. So I'm going to pick MNU exit on the left, and then on the right you have all the different event handlers that can be chosen for that object, and you'll notice that click is here. So there's a bunch of event handlers that I could put in. Click is the default one, so that's what happens when I double click on it in the design window. And if I'm already in the code window, I would just pick the click event here, and it will put that in here for me. Okay? Now you'll note, just because I've put in an event handler, the exit menu item still will not do anything if I run the program or debug the program. I have to write an assignment statement in here that tells this program what to do. So there's a couple things I could do here. I could type application. If I start typing application, notice in my IntelliSense window it comes up, and I can just hit the space bar and choose that. Then if I type a period, all the things that the application can do would come up, and I want exit, so I could just hit exit. And what we're going to do here to start out is we're going to put comments in every event that explains what to do. I just want you to get in the habit of writing some comments. In a couple weeks down the road, I will tell you don't write comments for things that are obvious, but here we're going to just put a comment. And so this is going to close the program. Okay? And now if I run it or debug it, it comes up here. I click File, Exit, and the program closes. Okay. This is probably the best practice to put application exit. I could type end in here. I could type. All of a sudden, can't type. If I pick end in this, that would work as well. That if I type file exit, it would end and close the program. Application.exit is probably the better procedure to use there in that instance. So the main thing to take away from this is, what we've got here is an object-oriented program where essentially I can bring in these objects. Object-oriented means I have all these objects. The code has already been written for them in the background, so I can just bring them in. So I've got object-oriented program I'm doing. And secondly, this is an event-driven program. So with these objects, I create events that make things happen in my program. So that's just a couple of things that you should take away from this. You can go ahead and open a project and play with that a little bit yourself if you would like.